All right. Welcome to the podcast, everyone. Podcast slash VideoCast. And today we have a Radio Statler takeover. We have the good folks at Radio Statler joining us. We got Beaches, Bunny, and Johnny Xmas. Johnny Christmas. I meant Johnny Christmas. I just read Xmas because that's what it says next to his name. So
Yeah.
that happens sometimes. And yeah, well, this is fun. This is a record number of people on the podcast. So we're setting CypherCon podcast records right now. So thank you guys for that.
Had I known it was a competition, I would have gotten more on here so we could secure that top position.
10 of us or more on here.
Well, you know what?
Yeah, and in fact, our regular weekly meeting is going on right now, and we could have just rolled you into that.
Yeah. Well, we probably still could do it. You know, if someone beats you guys, then I'll invite you guys back, and you can get the whole rest of the crew back, and we'll have a hoot.
So
we like winning.
On the when we were doing the Radio Statler podcast, I used to spam the public link out just on Twitter and be like, "Hey, join us on our podcast," and we would get the internet on the podcast. And
man, I love it. So maybe we could just start out and just kind of talk a little bit about what Radio Statler is for those that aren't familiar. And I could just hear a little bit from each of you, give a little introduction, how you got roped into the program or how you started in the project and kind of what your role is. So we can get to know you a little bit better. So maybe if we could start with Beaches, then we can go Bunny, and then we can go to Johnny Christmas. So Beaches, why don't you start us off?
In terms of like what is Radio Statler, for those that are unfamiliar, for the duration of the Hope Conference, which generally takes place every other year in New York City at Hotel Pennsylvania,
when does it usually take place?
That's usually late July, I think.
Okay.
Usually the third week of July of even years, but that changed this year.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, did it though? I think it's still the third week.
No, it's the last week now, and now we're going to have a conference on an odd year next year.
Yeah. But I mean, that's not necessarily all that unusual if you go look at the list of conferences on Wikipedia. I think there's been 3 years between before. I don't think they've ever done one back to back like this, so that's a little different. But
right. I think the first one was 96, and then there wasn't another one until.
No, it was 94.
That's right, 94. There was like a
94. Huge yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the older conferences for sure. Second oldest in the U.S., perhaps. I think Hacker Summer Camp might be the oldest.
Do you think so? I feel like them and DEF CON started pretty similar in terms of timing, right?
I thought Hacker Summer Camp had started in the late 80s.
You would know better than I would, I think.
Yeah, but definitely there was a time for a long period. Well, a period where Hope and DEF CON were the only conferences. Now, there were certainly small conferences starting to spring up, inspired by DEF CON and Hope already, even in the early 2000s. But until pretty much until the Target and Home Depot breaches, when information security became a career, there wasn't much of a conference circuit to speak of. It was Hope and DEF CON, and because they were the only two, there was a kind of an unspoken rivalry, and there was an unwritten rule at Hope where you don't mention DEF CON, you don't say DEF CON. Like if you use the word DEF CON, somebody's going to put a hand on your shoulder and go, "Hey, let's keep it down on the DEF CON, huh?" Now that's not the case anymore. But and all the other conferences out there, for the most part, really just excuses to come get your 2,600 groups together once a year. They would have 30 attendees, 50 attendees. And then, of course, that all changed around 2011, 2012, 2013.
So it's been around for a while. That's
early 90s. Yeah.
So then when did Radio Statler start recording the con, and how did that come about?
2008.
Yeah, that was 2008. Our friend Nick God came up for some reason. He would have been, I think, pretty young, honestly. But he came up with a bunch of recording stuff, and I think they just kind of set up shop on the mezzanine, and then
So
things
I
kinda
mean,
spiraled out of control.
I can run with that one. So right before the 2008 Hope, the Hope forums hadn't shown up on the internet, and Emmanuel was pretty much reaching out for anybody who wants to do projects. That was the year the AMD project, got started. That was the cool RFID thing, and then one of our friends, Lexicon, suggested a way to bring hope to people who can't be at Hope. And so a group of us on the Hope forums got together and we're like, well, let's make this happen, and that's what we did.
And that was a big deal because Hope, being a sister con to the Chaos Computer Congress, attracted a lot of international, especially European attendees, and also people who wished they could attend, but a transatlantic flight is not reasonable for many people. And so having a way of bringing hope to those people who who only knew of the Chaos Computer Congress is that always in Germany? I believe it's always in Germany.
I think you're right. Yeah.
And they found, wow, there's something else. America has one. And being able to provide that to them was really cool. And we definitely get a large amount of European listeners on the radio station.
Yeah, that's definitely true. We have a pretty decent European listenership. But we are happy to say that we also have, on every continent, we've had at least one person tune in, I think, for the past. I said almost. I don't think
you did.
I'm pretty sure
we've been hardcore shooting for Antarctica and coming so close.
Yeah.
But it's hard to line up.
Yeah, because like the people that live down there, like I think they rotate, like they're not there all the time, right?
Right.
And then that's the middle of their winter, so it's not like it's got a lot of people down there. So you're trying to find that one guy that's just like keeping the servers on.
Yeah,
and
it's the IT man, the IT guy who doesn't. Yeah,
and to find that one
I'm sure
person.
You need something to listen to, but you got to find him. Yeah,
It's like, how do you you can't just email sysadmin at Antarctica.org.
Antarctica, or can you? Have you tried?
Actually, I haven't.
What have you tried?
So, yeah, go ahead.
So, definitely there's been some postings on Twitter. I know a guy that knows a guy whose brother used to I think it was worked at one of the stations down there. So earlier this year, actually, I was like, oh, hey, you know this guy? Can you email him and see if his brother's still down there? And really, I think that probably there is some way to make requests for you would think that if you're stationed in Antarctica, there's probably some public outreach program. I just haven't found out what that is.
I tried to apply. There was I remember seeing you could win to be part of an expedition down there or something like that. And I either applied or thought about applying. I think I thought about applying and looked at the application. And I'm like, I'm not doing it.
That does happen on occasion. Metallica at least had attempted to play a show down there. I'm not sure if it actually happened. For similar reasons, they wanted to be able to say they've played on every continent.
Sure, right.
So let's put together. And all I can think of is wow, it's a great idea. Just put thousands of people down on Antarctica and just have them leave their beer cups there. Trash
It'll
they
be
bring.
fine.
Right,
Come on. Yeah. It's not like people don't clean up after themselves.
So there are people down there. We just had Antarctica's first Tinder match down there.
Is that right?
Really?
That's a thing. There's people down there, and they get lonely. And you can fix that with Tinder or with Radio Statler.
But doesn't everyone just live in the same place? Isn't it one research facility?
No.
I just assumed everybody in Antarctica lives in the same spot.
Yeah, they get to the northernmost point of Antarctica. And they're like, this is good.
It's done.
We're here. We're done. Anything going on further than this probably isn't important. Just ignore it.
So how long does it take to travel across Antarctica, for these Tinder matches? Do they get to go,
one of the
visit?
largest. Oh, yeah. So you got to be, I don't know, what's the max distance you could set on Tinder? Isn't there a max? It's got to be that.
I've literally never used Tinder.
I've never used Tinder.
I've only had robots use Tinder. I've only built robots which use Tinder. I don't actually know the settings.
Just to fuck with
Um,
people, or was it? Did you have some other kind of purpose that you're using the robots for?
oh, just for memes, as the kids say, just for the lulls.
Yeah, yeah,
And you build a robot that just swipes at everybody, and then you make your profile picture a robot and go, "I am a robot. Don't reply to me." And then invariably you get messages, and then you just respond like a robot would.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
I had a friend who had a chicken tender on Tinder, so it's a chicken tender Tinder, and she would. Profile picture is like, hey, I'm a chicken tender. I'm from Burger King. I have a crispy outside, juicy interior. Like, here's my caloric content. And then she would get messages all the time and would respond as if you were talking to a chicken tender.
Oh my God, I didn't know Tinder could be so fun.
So then she put screenshots of all of these messages on a Tumblr, and she called it the Chicken Tender Tinder Tumblr. And it was a great time. Yeah, you can and that's hacking. That's taking something, especially something technological, and making it do something that it's not supposed to do, or using it a way that the original manufacturer didn't intend. Like, that's hacking to the most purest degree.
Yeah.
So here's the thing you can use, and you go, okay, let's see, how can we use this? Well, I'm gonna put a chicken tender on it, but then still converse with people.
I love it. I love it. So you're in every continent except for Antarctica. And so are they able to, communicate with you? Do you have them on the show? Do you have them call in or anything like that?
Yeah, we still use the ERCs.
Yeah. So previously, what we've done has been IRC mostly.
Okay.
We generally, every time we try to set up, I don't know why we've come this far, and every time we try to set up some people to call in, it's either a giant mess and just doesn't work.
I miss the call-in days so much. We had a phone in the studio.
That is true.
Where you could call in and out, and I loved taking callers for all of the reasons you can imagine.
But yeah, pretty much we've, I think, given up on it at this point. Every time we try to set it up, it just doesn't really work.
Okay, gotcha.
And it's not a bandwidth issue. I mean, Hope famously has the
fattest
Hope is it? Yeah. Hope is the fattest, such a fat pipe that there's a challenge from the ISP every year to max it out, where they dare us.
And we never come close.
And we never come close. We hit 10%. The ISP is like, hey, we dare a building with 3,000 hackers in it, 2,500, to max out this internet pipe. Please try. And so everyone will write every script possible to download the biggest things you can imagine. And it's like, we spiked at 18% Saturday night. Yeah.
The best part is that because of the way that they have to get that amount of IPs, because they don't do natting.
Everyone gets a public.
Everybody gets a public IP address.
Network. Yeah.
They have it set up so that when you sign in, you can use a username and a password, but it accepts literally any username or password. But that way, everybody gets their own key, and it's you're secure. But yeah, everybody gets a public IP, and then because they'll pretty much do a list at the closing ceremony with whoever downloaded Spider-Man 2, could you just delete that, please?
Yeah, because they
get
takedown notices.
They take all the DMC notices and they.
Magic Mike was the infamous one. That was the infamous one we got the complaint on.
Oh, I definitely remember Spider-Man 2, but I think that was that would have been several years ago. Was it Magic Mike was probably last year, but we get a couple of takedown notices at least.
Yeah. So at the closing ceremonies, they do, here's all the statistics for the internet utilization and just the network in general. The NOC will do a presentation, and it's very well received. And part of it is and here's the DMCA takedown notices we're required to forward to you.
That's fantastic.
If you downloaded Magic Mike, you shouldn't have. That's all we got.
There isn't any recourse, right? It's what are we going to do? We're going to kick you off of the network that we have already dismantled.
And so that comes from the Chaos Computer Camp does that. And I believe Congress as well, where they do the same thing, where everyone gets a public IP. And it's because, not openly because, but it very greatly enables the ability to transfer information and things which may be legally dubious. And by the time the authorities get around to saying, hey, we got to confiscate these servers, it's 2 months later and the camp is dismantled or the con is dismantled, they're long gone. And they're like, good luck, buddy. And there's the abandoned train station where the camp used to be. You're welcome to see if someone accidentally left the server back there, but you're a little late to the party.
That's awesome. So where do you guys get most of your listeners from? Are they mostly outside the United States, or are they mostly
other services you can pay and you could
for getting listeners?
We're too cheap. We're too cheap.
I'm going to be honest. Like, we don't, every time we do Radio Statler, like, we lose money, right? Because we have to pay for tickets, we have to pay for hotel, we have to pay to, like, drive up with.
Oh, yeah, we don't get a budget. Like,
we don't.
Hope only recently started acknowledging that we're sucking up space inside their conference. And that's a good story to tell. Like, we've gone from, it's a cool story about, like, it really shows you how Hope is and what the mentality is there. And that, like, up until recently, there was the entire empty mezzanine level of a hotel where outside of the vendor space that was rented out, you could just grab a table and go, this one's mine. And I'm going to do this here. And then everyone goes, okay. And so these guys said, this is mine. We're going to host a radio station here. And then everyone went, okay, let us know if you're dead. And that's how it goes. And so it started as a very personal, like, thing where a group of hackers just said, this is what we're going to do. And it's not Hope sanctioned. You didn't have to register your village with the conference and have a CFP for your booth and all this bullshit. It was just like, hey, Radio Statler is here and it's a radio station. And people would then walk by and go, what is this? So we go, oh, it's a radio station. And they go, whoa, how's that work? And we go, I don't really know.
Surprisingly works.
Yeah, like magic, and I'm not exaggerating.
So it's super grassroots. I've never been to Hope.
Yeah.
So is that what everyone does, or is that just you guys?
There's regulars now where Mitch, runs the soldering village, and there's the Chaos. Who runs the old computer?
It used to be March, but I think that I don't remember what the new name is. They recently reorganized as of last time.
So there's an organization that brings really old computers that all still work. And they just show up and they go, all right, let's find a place to set these all up. And they just do that. And it's just there. And it's cool. They network them all together as much as they can, which is really cool because most of them weren't ever supposed to talk to each other. It's neat stuff. And you can play games on them and crap. And yeah, that's how it is. It's very much, it's a place where very little work is done, and it's just like, where's the biggest, openest room where we can put a bunch of hackers to do whatever they want? And then also by not sanctioning any of it, you kind of absolve yourself from a lot of the liability. But it's a testament to Radio Statler that in recent years, we've actually become more directly involved as an official part of Hope. And Hope acknowledges us and asks if we're coming, and we can ask Hope for amenities and official space and things. And so, like, we've gone from, a bunch of people doing a weird thing literally in the corner to a thing Hope as a conference hopes that we keep doing.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty cool.
The voice of Hope, as it says on your shirt, Bunny, for those that are listening and they can't see. Oh, it's got the whole Radio Statler logo.
Let's keep the jiggling down. This is a family show.
Is it really a family show? I was told that we could say fuck on this.
This is a hacker show. We're anti-censorship. We're
freedom.
I gotta get the dogs out of here. I don't need to know these words.
Cool. So how did each of you get involved in Radio Statler? Like, when was it? Like, how did you get involved? Like, what's your role?
So for me, at least, I got involved in 2012. And essentially what happened is I'd known Nick God for a very long time. And he was like, hey, I'm going to pay for, are you interested in coming to Hope? And I was like, yeah. He was like, okay, I'm going to pay for your hotel and your ticket, and you're just going to have to get your ass to New York at these dates.
Mm-hmm.
And then I did. And then I spent 3 days cutting audio into shows and putting it on the internet. And then they were like, you should come back. And I was like, yeah, okay, I guess so. And then I've been, I guess, kind of the production director, I think is the term we're using. So for me, I'm in charge of.
Sucker is the term I've heard going around.
Oh, is that?
Meetings you're not on.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that
Radio
makes more
Statler,
sense.
bitch.
True.
So obviously it's a thankless job.
I wouldn't say
I
it's
certainly
thankless.
haven't thanked him. Can confirm.
I thank him because he took over my job.
That's true.
Yeah, Bunny used to do it.
That's true. But yeah, so Bunny used to, and I've since taken over getting scheduling content and getting people, like interesting people to come on, which sometimes is just like sending somebody a Twitter DM or sending them an email, or randomly going to the hallway and be like, you look weird and interesting, you should come talk on the radio. And then they go, okay. And then they just follow you. So yeah, I don't know. That's pretty much been my involvement. I'm still involved with doing some of the archival work, but that's mostly been taken over by somebody else at this point, which is good.
Cool.
But
Yeah, we have archives. We have archives from years ago.
We do. I think we have
weird stuff. It's we're getting way off the topic of how to get started here.
Go ahead, talk about the weird stuff, though. I mean, you say weird
Well, like,
stuff,
so
and
part of-
everyone's ears perk up. So
We don't know how
Do
to
you
stay
wanna-
on topic.
no,
that's
all
not
right.
what we do here. I think Bacon and Cheese Hour is probably the best
One of the
story.
most popular segments, the Bacon and Cheese Hour.
It was, I think, in 2008.
No, Bacon and Cheese was second year.
Was it? Oh, it was
It was
2010.
2010, yeah.
8. All right.
So Nick God literally hands a stranger. It's like, hey, we need to cook bacon. Take my credit card, go to Kmart, buy a pan, an induction burner, and bacon and cheese, and then come back here.
Technically, this was the cheese hour.
Oh,
like the
you're
steak.
right.
I brought up, because I love cheese, I brought up let's find ways and eat cheese and talk about it, and we were like, well, we have to have bacon to go with cheese. So then it mutated into the bacon hour.
It's not a phrase I've ever personally heard. so
You
Hope,
need bacon with your cheese.
We
Remember
wanted to
Hope-
wrap cheese and bacon and cook it, and that's where the bacon came in. And I mean, that's delicious.
and Hope is in central Manhattan generally. And so like it's not just a matter of like, oh, we'll run to the Kmart up the road. Like you have to navigate, Midtown Manhattan to get to a Kmart and now you've handed a stranger at the HackerCon your credit card and said, go buy me bacon and the things to cook bacon in an empty hotel room or empty hotel floor.
Yep.
And it worked so well that we've done it multiple times.
I do remember that was also the time that we'd gotten everything except for like a spatula. Like we didn't have anything to actually pull off. So then we handed off, we grabbed the lady in charge of the Hope Volunteers. We were like, hey, we need you to go buy us a spatula. I don't care where.
And so that's a great example of Radio Statler. So what we like, it's easy enough for us to just rebroadcast the talks that are going on, which we do and is greatly appreciated by a lot of the listeners. We do video and audio. Video can be hard for a lot of people who want to consume the content to get where they're at. And a lot of the talks, especially at Hope is more of a hacktivist, anarcho-political conference with hacker leanings. And so the talks often work fairly well audio only for most people. Yeah. So that's cool. Especially the years where you have like Jello Biafra doing 2-hour political rants, things like that. Just great times. And so, but because Hope is also very much a 24-hour conference, which is one of my favorite things about it, you can have a blast at 4 a.m. inside the conference.
My best times pretty much happen after 10 p.m.
Yeah. The Hotel Pennsylvania, where it was held, has, like I mentioned before, an empty mezzanine floor. The entire floor of the hotel. It used to be it used to be shops, like a mini little indoor shopping mall in the hotel. They tore it all out decades ago and never put anything back in it. So it's literally an entire floor of a hotel empty. And they let Hope use it. And Hope is the only entity that uses it. But because Hope's using it for the duration, it's just open 24 hours. You could just go up there and somebody's doing something. And so the talks end around 9 p.m.
Usually the last talks go on about 9 or 10.
Yeah. And so then after that, you've got another 12 hours of dead air to fill. And Radio Statler fills that. And we have on, not only do we have on this, like a lot of the speakers who already presented and let them either talk more about their topic or talk about something else completely unrelated, but we have on entities which happen to be attending the conference, which aren't presenting. We have the Pirate Party. Yeah, almost every year. The Pirate Party comes on and does a whole Pirate Party hour, and they're a blast. Just things like that. We try to invent content. The wee hours definitely turned into creepy conspiracy theorist rants and inside joke runs and just drunkenness and board games, and it's a really good time.
When did Bacon and Cheese happen? What time was Bacon and Cheese?
We did that like in the middle of the evening, I think.
2 a.m.
No, I think we actually did the actual hour in the middle, but we had so much bacon left over that we cooked bacon for the rest of the weekend.
Oh yeah, and it's a great prank. If you ever want to play a prank on a group of people at 2 a.m., just cook a small amount of bacon somewhere so they can smell it. It's the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, there was a sign that ended up at the top of the escalator coming up to the mezzanine. There was a sign that said, like, "Yes, you do smell bacon."
Yeah.
That's great. So why was the bacon so popular?
It's bacon.
Yeah.
Bacon on the radio, though, because you can't smell it on the radio.
You can hear it.
It was just our us being us, I guess.
Yeah, it was the personalities cooking and consuming the bacon.
Okay.
It was just a weird show.
Content around the bacon. I can see that.
Yeah.
I mean, it was like, what, 2008, 2010. I don't think it happened in 2012. Like, in that time period, though, that was like when the internet went like just fucking bonkers for bacon. Like, that was about the time.
No,
it was like,
oh, yeah.
Oh, you want a bacon wallet? Bacon mayonnaise?
Right.
Bacon
really?
salt? Bacon lollipops? Bacon
Yeah.
covered in chocolate?
If you think, we do remember a time before bacon was popular.
Yeah.
Everybody always liked bacon, but we never, eventually, like the internet, one of the biggest accomplishments of the internet was allowing everyone to realize that bacon is universally loved.
And it's true.
Something the entire internet agrees on. It's like, oh, well, yes, bacon.
Wow, I never knew that there was like a pre-bacon. It's like when
there's a pre-bacon period.
Was there a pre-cat videos? That was always a thing.
No, that's been eternal.
I have put one of the first cats on the internet.
No way.
I did.
That's
late 1995.
No way.
I had a GeoCities, or no, it was an Angel Fire web homepage. I was one of the very first Angel Fire accounts to exist.
Oh, someone called out my age the other night. I was playing a board game online, and I mentioned GeoCities, and someone was like, "My God, you're old," and I'm like, "Oh,
yeah.
God."
Come on,
I think you're older. Aren't you older than me?
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah.
So
usually people are shocked to find out I'm the oldest of the group, and I really like that Bunny is older than me.
The first
it shows. I'll look right here.
first website I made was an Angel Fire website for my parents. They wanted to sell their house, but they didn't want to put the whole list, and they wanted to do it on their own. They wanted to put the whole listing in the paper. They wanted to save space. So they're like, can you make a website? And so I just put like the Angel Fire
just
link.
put a URL,
Yeah. Just put the URL.
Yeah.
Like,
So it's like angelfire.com/tilde.
yeah.
How did you explain to the person at the newspaper what tilde was?
Oh man, I just told her what the
Like,
link
the
was.
curly
And
thing,
She
the little
took care of
weed.
that. I don't. She took care of that part. I just like, here's the link, and then and she's like, my mom's like, I'll give you $25 if you can figure out how to make a website and sell our house on. And so that we can save space and don't have to pay the extra money. To, like,
And $25 back then was like 25,000 now.
Yeah, when you're like 10
I hope
years
you
old.
invested that.
When you're
Oh,
10
you were
years
10
old,
back
you know,
then.
like,
Okay,
it was,
never mind.
It was it was good money, you know. So, and I got to learn how to make a website. I was like, I had to figure out how to make all the stuff. And
Do you know where I learned how to make a website?
tell me.
Neopets.
Same.
That's so I have two friends up in Canada who have been repeatedly banned from the Neopets website to date, as recently as earlier or late last year, because they keep just going in and violating terms of service left and right in the interest of Neopets. Like, they're big fans to the extent where they do shady stuff and get banned. Yeah. Oh, and they both work. They're both like porn adjacent, which is interesting. Like Neopets, and there's apparently a huge porn adjacent following for Neopets. Like, lots of porn and like sex workers are into Neopets.
I mean, a lot of people were into Neopets.
A lot of people are into porn.
I still have my Neopets. I log in once a month, and yeah.
You really?
Yeah.
I think the email account that I used to register my Neopets account is like dead. Like, I think it was like excite.com.
I'm going to text them to let them know that we're talking about Neopets on the podcast.
Yeah, no, I still have them. I have Neopets decorations. I have plushies. I love my Neopets. I still do.
Nice. I'm not even familiar with Neopets. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
It still exists. Just go to neopets.com and never look back.
It's Tamagotchi, but on a website.
It's literally Tamagotchi,
accurate.
but online.
And I think there's more like games, right? Tamagotchi,
Yeah. You can play games to essentially win coins.
Because it's online versus in a little
on your Neopets.
Yeah.
Awesome. So tell me about Hope this year. I mean, are you guys doing a Hope this year? Is there any COVID? You know,
it's a virtual 9-day Hope.
Oh, wow.
Yes. It's the first time ever, and it's a little scary because, well, we don't know how Hope itself is going to be, so we're just trying to also join and not fail.
Yeah, this year we've migrated off of IRC. Well, we haven't migrated off IRC. We've added Discord and have bridged it to IRC, so you can use both now to talk to us during
and Slack actually. So we have a Slack, we have a Discord, and we have IRC.
Yeah. So
and they can all chat to each other.
Oh, really?
So depending on
so whichever one you use, you don't miss any messages. They're all bridged.
Nice.
Yeah, it's very nice. So we have that, which that's new for 2020.
It's 2020. It's still 2020. It is still 2020.
Yeah.
I know this has been the longest decade, but it is still actually 2020.
It's been the longest year.
Oh my God. Speaking of years, this is completely off topic.
Today's been really long.
And also 100%, you're posting a video of this, right?
Yeah. It'll be on the YouTubes.
We bought a calendar in January on Amazon. And because this is 2020 and the longest year ever, it arrived July 1st. I just want you to appreciate this calendar that came in. A fucking 2020 calendar. Get your shit together this year.
And it didn't even show up until now.
Didn't show up until now.
That's so perfect. And just for the listeners that aren't watching this, like it's just the top is black and it says in white lettering, a fucking, and the F is bleeped out with an explosion, or the U rather is bleeped out with an explosion, a fucking 2020 calendar in white lettering, and then below it there's white, and can you pull it up a little, and it says
There
get
you
your
go.
shit together this year. So it's
We
perfect.
clearly did not listen to that calendar.
No, we didn't.
Or I mean, maybe we did. It's just it's going to happen in the last part of the year. What happens? Wait, you've got the future calendar. What happens at the end of the year?
Yeah, what do we got?
What do we got?
What's in July?
Yeah, it only goes through August.
Oh, shit. July is Oh Hot Damn.
Oh, hot damn, July. That's
That works for
hot.
us. It's already hitting like 100 down here.
Yeah.
So
Where are you, Bunny?
I'm in St. Louis.
St. Louis. Okay, yeah, it gets hot there in the summer. I hear. I haven't been in the summer, but
It's very humid and hot.
And the reason why we actually bought this calendar is these stickers of the
Aw.
middle finger.
There's not enough stickers to cover the year.
Fuck
You need
this. Fuck off. It has one that's someone's fucking birthday, vacation about damn time, a fucking day off, another shitty meeting. They do not have another shitty meeting. They don't have enough of those stickers. There's like 14. That is not enough shitty. They're all shitty meetings. I don't think I've ever had a not shitty meeting.
You literally need a sticker for every single day of this year so far.
Yeah. I need 365 another shitty meeting sticker.
Another shitty meeting. So, all right. So when does Hope start?
July 25th.
25th,
Yes.
coming up here.
It'll go through August 2nd is the last day.
And how are you guys doing talks, and how's all that going? Gonna happen?
So talk-wise,
Tell 'em.
they haven't really they haven't announced a platform yet that they're going to use. Well, so
It's
that's
exciting.
that's not true. Usually talks are like conferences split into multiple tracks.
Mhm.
And what they did this year is they kept the same number of talks, but they put them into a single track, which is why the conference is 3 times as long instead of
Sure.
it's 9 days.
So you could hit all the talks if you wanted to.
If you wanted to, you could just, you could shotgun it. You could sit for 9 days and just, another one. It's a single track. What they've done previously for video streaming for talks, which they've done in the past, is they have, I think, partner with I think it's the Internet Society, if I recall correctly. So they'll just be a live stream, and they'll have people come in and they'll do either a pre-recorded talk or a live talk. And then if you buy a ticket, there's some additional interactivity aside from, if you just want to watch the talk, you don't have to pay for a ticket. But if you want to talk to
They're going to do like Q&A
presenters,
sessions.
there's like Q&A sessions.
speakers.
If you want to do any workshops, they are doing workshops. I'm interested to see how that goes because the workshops are obviously all going to be virtual. So actually, and for this year, they reached out to us and were like, hey, are you still doing Radio Statler? And could you please submit as a workshop? So the workshop should be an interesting kind of format. Those can be partially pre-recorded, but there's some stuff that you would still need to for Q&A or anything like that. So that'll be kind of interesting. I don't think I've seen any other virtual conferences that have done a workshop format.
Yeah, that is interesting.
But I mean, it's very ambitious as far as I can tell, and that's kind of what Hope does, is just be very ambitious. So either it's going to be good or it's going to be really, really good. And we'll kind of see where it shakes out. In terms of Radio Statler, we haven't decided necessarily, but we've decided we don't necessarily know what platform we're going to stream to or anything like that. But we're planning to do video as well as audio this year. There'll still be an audio stream is the plan. And then, we're going to try to fill up 24 hours of 9 days a week.
Damn, that's a lot of hours. That's a lot of people. You got to man the microphones.
Yeah. Hey, if you want to
Yes.
have the CypherCon hour, we can
man.
totally slot it in.
We can
The CypherCon, if you want to have the CypherCon day, we're amenable.
Hey, if you just want to join Radio Statler and help man some microphones, you know,
It's,
go ahead.
yeah, we could always use it.
How much
experienced hosts.
bacon do I get?
If you send me your address, I will find some way to ship you bacon.
Done.
You're gonna get a bacon calendar for 2021.
Yeah, I get a
Bacon of the month club.
Bacon your shit
maybe
together.
Make that happen. I don't think
It'll
I don't
say
think you
a
should put
fucking
your
2020 year, and it'll say get your bacon together.
Get your bacon
There we go.
together. Oh man.
Perfect.
All right, sold. I'll do it.
Okay.
I'm in.
Cool. I'll email you the Discord invite. We meet on Wednesdays at 8:30.
We like fresh meat.
Ah, fantastic. Got plenty to go around.
He doesn't know what he's in store for.
No, you've made a terrible miscalculation.
Well,
but we appreciate it.
At least I get bacon out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, I forgot what I was gonna say. I had a thought. Oh yeah. So yeah, I wanted to ask you guys about just cons in general, like in 2020. I mean, most of the cons either moved to virtual or they just canceled altogether. What are you guys' thoughts around like where cons are at now, and what do you see like going forward? You guys have any thoughts about that? And I had Trenton and Sean on the podcast talking about InfoSec Oasis, and they moved to AltSpace VR platform to do a con, and it sounded really cool. And I actually got into AltSpace. I had just got an Oculus too, just because I was like, this sounds cool. Like, you know, and their thought was that, you know, that COVID could be the catalyst that starts the Oasis, the Ready Player One Oasis, which may or may not happen. We'll see. But I don't think we're and Johnny looks very skeptical. But
I have opinions when you're ready for them.
All right.
You can tell that's opinions with a capital O and a trademark.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah, I turned my ears on for that.
So yeah. So anyways, any thoughts that you guys have on cons and let's hear your opinions on VR too. I know John.
I mean, I still think that because it's July and COVID is still pretty much a thing. I think a lot of cons, like I only had 2 planned this year and one just up and canceled very recently. I think most of them are just trying to hope they can pull in the later part of the year and then just canceling. But a lot of cons are now sitting and realizing that they're not going to happen. So now we're going to come up with really great ideas as to how to do new cons. And then I'm guessing by the end of the year, we're going to see some really interesting things.
Yeah, I agree, and it all depends like where this thing goes too. You know, like I don't know, it might be a while before we have any kind of regular kind of gatherings. But we don't know. We don't have our crystal balls.
Yeah, I don't think that we're gonna have any major cons until till the start of 2021.
Yeah.
So
I would even say probably till mid 2021 at the earliest.
Like it's not gonna happen until like we actually get a vaccine and there's a way to help
general availability of the vaccine I think is going to be the thing. I think it takes from tip to tail like at least 14 months and I think they started.
We don't need a vaccine. The presence of therapeutics that are enough to minimize the effects of the disease to the extent where hospitalization is minimalized. I think that's definitely going to happen way before we have a vaccine, and everyone keeps focusing on this vaccine, and it's like never exist. Right now, they can't even find enough samples to keep working on the vaccine. As the weeks go by, the time frame for vaccine gets pushed out farther and farther, just due to the sheer lack of samples.
Well, and if I'm reading correctly, because obviously it mutates, are they able to keep up with like mutations? Like is this going to be like a vaccine once we get it? It's going to mutate too much to even be able to keep up with it.
It depends.
It depends
we don't
on the
know.
mutation.
Yeah.
Because I know I know that they are aware of some mutations already.
One of the reasons a vaccine normally takes 10 to 20 years is due to that. due to like confirming you have one that's going to take care of all forms of it. You know,
Yeah.
not every virus can have a vaccine ever made. Like it's not like it's not a matter of, well, if we put enough time and money on it, everything can have a vaccine. Like that's just not the case.
For me, though, the concern, at least for therapeutics, is there isn't necessarily a lot of knowledge about the long-term effects. So even if hospitalizations aren't bad or deaths, like if we have a therapeutic schedule, right, that can make it so that deaths are minimized, but like you still have people that for months afterwards of having quote unquote recovered can't like go up and down stairs without getting winded. They can't. Like,
well, it's due to the damage that the virus caused from being allowed to go so long.
Exactly. Like it's
well, and nearly everyone who dies from COVID, like they don't die because of the infection. They died because of secondary effects of the infection. That's why, you know, most people who are dying were people with poor, like limited access to healthcare their whole lives, poor cardiovascular health, et cetera. I do a lot of work with an organization called Get Us PPE. So I'm just perpetually in contact with medical facilities and professionals, which is where I get a lot of my opinions from.
Oh, that's great. What do you do with the PPE folks? Get people PPE.
Source and distribute. Personally, I distribute. Literally, I get on my motorcycle and I take it from point A to point B. Because one of the biggest problems going on in the country is even though we have finally gotten to the point in most states where the state governments are able to source the necessary PPE for the medical facilities, the distribution within the states is fucking terrible. It's highly targeted. It's based off of the wrong data. Because, you know, COVID affects almost like in Chicago, 73% of all COVID deaths are Black folks. It disproportionately hits Black folks more than even Latinos, and of course whites the least. And that has to do with lifetime access to healthcare. Folks who have had unhealthy lives due to systematic racism, et cetera, are at high risk for death from COVID because of the long-term effects that not being able to get medical attention cause, or even just had proper healthcare education. But what the states are often doing is they're sending this PPE to hospitals based on the number of just patients they had last year. And so, okay, you had this many patients last year. If you had 40% of all the patients in the state, you'll get 40% of the PPE. Here you go. Whereas what really needs to happen is the hospitals in the very low income areas that have often, you know, have the high percentages of those most heavily affected by COVID and the highest COVID cases, those are the ones that actually need to get all the PPE, but they're not getting it because they don't historically have the numbers to support that. But now they do, but they're going based off of like last year's numbers. And so these hospitals aren't getting the quantity of PPE that they actually need to protect their doctors and protect their patients. That aside, the states aren't providing PPE to every other form of facility that takes in people off the streets, be it nursing homes, be it safe houses, halfway houses. Those don't get shit, you know? And they're on their own, like, well, go to the store and go buy some. Have you been to a store? Have you tried to buy some? It's not there. And when it is there, a box of 50 gloves is $30.
Wow.
A box of 100 masks is $30. It's insane. And these places don't have any money. So what we're doing at Get Us PPE is finding places that have extra PPE. I pick up from veterinarians a lot.
Wow.
We go to vets, pick up gloves and masks. And then we take those, and I dropped it off a couple weeks ago. I had to go to a battered women's shelter in Indiana and drop it off. And so that's what we're doing.
Wow.
Because nobody else is doing it. And I'm happy to do it. And I get to go out on my motorcycle. You know, it's not a huge burden, but I'm helping. But because of that, I talk to tons of doctors about what's going on and what they think is happening.
Wow.
When I talk to hospitals to get back on track, the hospitals hear all of the internal memos. The internal conversation is the resurgence in September. There will be a massive spike, at least here in Chicago in September. It's being spoken of as a guarantee. The words possibly are never used. They never talk about it like if the spike happens, if the suspected spike is coming. It's never everyone is preparing for the second wave in September. It is happening.
I wish I still lived in Illinois.
I guess.
You guys are doing way better than us.
Oh, we are crushing it. Our governor is doing an excellent job.
Our governor is awful.
Yeah.
He did like a recent interview, and he's leaving everything to the cities to decide on their own. And he openly said that
What a cop out.
He will not, in any shape, way, or form, mandate masks for the state because he believes that it is everybody's freedom to choose whether they should wear a mask. And he's deciding he doesn't want to wear a mask.
Wow, what a piece of shit.
I was like, sweet.
I can't believe how politicized wearing a mask or not wearing a mask has become. It's ridiculous.
I'm so glad that I live in like the one of two blue sections in this stupid state because they actually care. We just finally forced masks. It took them forever,
the
but
same
it's
problem
there.
Here. Yeah, like Chicago is like one of the only blue sections. You know, the upside is the rest of the state has no population to say anything. So, it's the same thing that elections do, where they allow you to they cause people to broadcast loudly what pieces of shit they are. And so like the upside is like, well, you get to go through your friends list once a year and go, okay, cool. I didn't know that you were just, you cared so little about your friends or family that you're willing to kill them so you don't have a minor inconvenience.
No, that's insane.
And like people like, hey, come on, I can't believe it's July and like people don't understand what the purpose of the mask is by now. Like, you fucking kidding me?
We get people on a regular basis who are confused. Like, we get people obviously who don't want to wear a mask, but then because we've been enforcing them in our business since day one of reopening for us. But like, people come in, they're confused. They're like, I don't understand. Like, why are we wearing masks? And I'm like, where have you been for a while now?
You literally can't walk down the street here without being informed of it. It's taped to the fucking light pole.
Yeah.
People are taping, you cannot walk down a street without being accidentally educated on what's up.
Yeah.
Like, what's your problem?
Like, where literally, I can't even, ignorance can't do this because you're seeing it. It's right in front of your eyes.
You're faking that you don't know is what's happening there. And you just, and yet, so like you'll get women who will get uppity about having to wear a mask, but they'll still wear a bra for like a much less important reason. Are you fucking kidding me?
For the support.
That's the thing about beliefs. People just double down on what they already believe instead of changing their beliefs because of evidence. It's nuts.
It's not a belief thing.
Well, I mean, it's a lot of the people they're listening to, I don't know, like right-wing radio stations that are telling them that this is all bullshit. And it's like,
I feel like those people are few and far between. They're just loud.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope.
I mean, that's kind of the trouble is it's really kind of hard to tell, like who's really like getting all their information.
It's a liberal conspiracy. And like, I'm pretty fucking liberal, and I haven't been informed of this conspiracy yet. Yeah. Like, I'm not necessarily against. I might be on board. Email me.
Well,
many of you are on the committee. I didn't get the memo.
You're a conspirator on your motorcycle delivering all that PPE. I mean, come on.
I would like to be more of a conspirator. Like, what's up?
I wanted to back it up on something that you mentioned before. What are therapeutics? Is it like therapy animals? Like
no, drugs.
Cats?
Drugs.
Yeah, therapeutic medicine.
What kind of drugs are working to minimize the symptoms?
Nothing so far. But there's therapeutics for the common cold,
So there's Sudafed and stuff like that.
Yeah. So there's therapeutics for many flus. Like, you ever have Tamiflu? You ever get the flu and then the doctor prescribed you Tamiflu or some kind of, it's a therapeutic. It's not a cure. It doesn't destroy the virus.
Does Tamiflu actually work or?
It varies. It varies by virus and infection and person, but sometimes it works enough that doctors prescribe it.
Okay. I've never been prescribed Tamiflu. I have Z-Pak is another thing that's mostly, I think, therapeutic, right?
Z-Pak is an antibacterial.
You're right. It is an antibacterial, and they just prescribe it for everything.
One of the problems with viruses is you can't really medicate away viruses. Right. They're too, and it's because they're too simple of creatures.
Well, yeah, they're not alive, right?
Yeah.
Like
So the way you fight a viral infection is you change the chemical makeup of the things that they're attacking, or you change the way the things they're attacking function so that the functions no longer benefit the replication of the virus. And it's really hard to do that without fucking your body up, because you're talking about like changing the chemical makeup of receptors on your cell walls, and those receptors are there for a valid reason to receive other things you need. And so then it's a matter of, all right, can we shut these receptors down for 2 weeks and not kill the person or permanently maim them, but also then the virus can't replicate and it's gone, and then we can turn the receptors back up. It's things like that that you're dealing with viruses. Viruses are really, really freaking tricky to fight off. And that's what we're dealing with. There's a big therapeutic that's being pushed right now called remdesivir. And remdesivir was initially created to fight SARS and MERS, if you remember those two. SARS. And so this COVID, of course, being caused by SARS-2. There's no real clinical data showing that remdesivir has any effect on SARS/COVID-19 infections. But it could, and it's way far ahead in the clinical testing trials because it's been being tested for years and years and years. So they've found that, okay, it's at least fairly safe, and we've confirmed that. Let's get it out to people. Let's start trying it on people to see if it works. And so a lot of people are getting real excited about remdesivir, saying, oh, the therapeutic, it's a drug, it's going to help. But there's no evidence of that. Definitely, like if a doctor says try it, certainly try it. It might help. It might work, but don't get excited that there's a therapeutic treatment out there because it hasn't been proven.
Yeah.
Well, Johnny, I wanted to walk it back to your face when I mentioned the Oasis and Ready Player One, and you were like, "Fuck that! That's never gonna happen." What were you thinking?
I am so sick of virtual conferences.
Okay.
And I say that as someone whose company is hosting their second virtual conference this year already, which are well received. I'm personally not a fan. It's not to say they're not effective and don't provide, a wealth of education, et cetera. I feel the entire reason that conferences were created was, if you want to go back to the days of like Comdex and things like that, the entire reason they're created is to get a bunch of people who like the same stuff together to meet up in person and talk and have conversations and stuff. And the big problem with these virtual conferences that are hosted on platforms like Zoom and like we call everything. Zoom has become a ubiquitous household name now. No matter what kind of webinar system you're using, it's Zoom. We had a Zoom. Let's do a Zoom.
How did Skype drop the ball on that one? They're like way ahead of the game, and then
because they changed it to Teams, and like they changed the name 5 times. It's Live and then Teams, and Skype had it, but Skype built that ubiquity before Microsoft bought them as well.
Yeah.
And then Microsoft dropped that ball. So this is good when you need to have, I'd say, maximum 5 people to have a conversation and get some things done. It's great for business meetings because even in person, more than 5 people at a work meeting doesn't get anywhere anyway. It doesn't work for, like, you have people trying to do parties and stuff over Zoom and saying like, oh, we're having like grab a drink and hang out on Thursday, and you'll have 50 people in a webcast all here, all yelling over each other. Like that's not how social gatherings work.
Right.
That's how social gatherings that don't work. But like social gatherings, you get 50, 100 people, and I'm talking like our meetups and things like that in a room, and you break off into small groups of 3, 4, 5, and you have a conversation over here. Now, what InfoSec Oasis and ThoughtCon have been doing is they're using a system called AltSpace VR, which actually is owned by Microsoft now.
Really?
Yeah.
Not surprised, but really?
Yeah. To host these gatherings. And AltSpace is really cool. And also there's a VR chat that's kind of like Second Life. If I recall, it's called just VR chat. I think it's called. It's really cool. And it works really well because it does a lot of the audio manipulation to where if you walk away from a group, that audio level drops. And if like and they have positional audio and volume. So if somebody's talking behind you to the right, even in just stereo headphones, you hear that and pick up on it. You can turn around and see them and they're right there. And also what's really cool about that is if there's a group of people talking and they're just out of earshot, you can kind of hear the mumbles and you can tell where they're at. And if you're alone in a room, you could be like, let me go see what they're doing. Or I think I heard somebody talking about something I'm into. I'm going to walk over there and see. And that's how real conversation happens. That's how real social interaction happens. And that's why that's really cool. The downside to that is these systems have extremely limited caps on how many people they can host at any given time. I think absolute max in AltSpace VR was like, at 30, you start getting serious performance degradation. At 50, it's almost unusable. So you can't even have a small conference there.
Well, the cool thing that they did for InfoSec Oasis is they were able to clone rooms. So you could have 30 people fill up a room. And then once they hit 30, they cloned it. And another 30 people, but everyone's seeing the speaker.
But it's a crapshoot of which 30 people you're hanging out with.
But it's during the talk, you know, so then they have like other like lobby spaces or whatever where people can hang out.
And also presenting in VR is tricky. InfoSec Oasis did come up with a cool solution. And I've been watching concerts in AltSpace, which is really fun.
I have too. I've been going to like open mics and stuff. I've been experimenting with it. I've been having fun with it. I'm working on a project for Burning Man for it right now. Because the Burning Man's like one of the, actually it got bought. It's funny. I wound up hearing the story that it got bought by Microsoft and the deal was done at Burning Man. And so it's like very like Burning Man friendly. So they're doing like this Burning Man thing.
Like Burning Man definitely turned into the place where rich people go to experience what being poor is like. And it really is like, it's like, because they can't get that experience in their own life. They can't get the experience of like money not mattering. And so they go to Burning Man to be forced into that scenario. And
it's the harsh environment there is the great equalizer because everyone's got to figure out how to deal with it.
So there's still a downside to these VR spaces, aside from just like the limited user base, is you have that barrier to entry. You have that technological barrier. Yes, you can use things like AltSpace via PC, and it's cool that they tried to do that. It's not as easy. You don't get a lot of the interactivity. You can't emote like you can with, I don't have my setup here, with your hands like you can in VR. So if you're talking to someone on a PC, they're just this robot who's talking to you like this. That's really weird. And you still need some kind of decent hardware to even run the 3D environments that are going on there. And, you know, there's a ton of people who don't have access to that, or just choose not to have access to that, and aren't going to go buy a setup just to be able to do that. You know, I know plenty of people who have a 6-year-old, 8-year-old laptop that work in information security and are, you know, work in offensive security and go, this thing works fine for me. I don't need anything more. Why would I bother wasting my money? And I totally get it. You can get by really far on a Chromebook these days, but it's not going to run AltSpace.
Well,
I just bought my mom a Chromebook, and I was super worried that it was going to be a nightmare, and it hasn't.
On the flip side of that, though, like buying a plane ticket, getting a hotel, and going to a con, you know, costs. I mean,
you can expense those things against your company.
Yeah, well,
your
maybe
company going to buy you a VR headset.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, have the company buy a VR headset.
Your company's not going to do that, because then that becomes a company asset, and then they have to go and collect those when everybody quits, and then they're stuck with these VR headsets.
Yeah.
Sure. So speaking from someone who doesn't have a job that would ever pay for HackerCon, I do it hope's one of the best things ever, because I will spit out that money. It's usually about $1,000 altogether, travel, staying, and all that stuff. And I do it hands down. I don't have an issue doing it, because I get to sit around with alcohol in my hand and people around me to talk for hours. And it's great. You meet amazing people. A
significant portion of people will go to those cons out of pocket for sure. And spend very little sometimes. My first Hope, I had $93 in my bank account. when I went.
I was pretty poor. Tickets were much cheaper to Hope.
Yeah, I've never bought a badge for Hope. I'm proud to say.
I've only not bought twice. That was the 2-year that we did a talk because I got one included.
I only started speaking there very recently. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just had people who were willing to give me some badges all the time, and that was very cool. And Hope was my first HackerCon back in Y2K, H2K. That was, I read it inside of 2600 magazine. Actually, I didn't. My friend who was reading the magazine had found it, and he showed me when I get him over to his house. And he was my friend where he was the only other hacker I knew, and we would hack on like satellite TV and stuff and our cell phones. And we both read 2600 and had been for years. And he goes, "Hey, did you see this?" And it was a page all the way at the end of the magazine that quarter. It said, "Hope is coming. Hope Hackers of Planet Earth is a conference in Manhattan, New York, USA, where over 1,000 hackers get together to trade blah, blah, blah." And it was a full page. And I was reading this and I literally said to him, I go, there's
probably
no
looked kind of like this, right? I mean, this is for this year's, but like it's at the end of the thing.
Yeah, it was exactly that.
It's just like, it's like, hey, this is Hope. This is a thing that's happening.
A one page.
It's like, it's literally like the second to last. It's like,
and for how, it's exactly what it was. And for how big it is, you'd think they'd put it like on the cover. But no. And it was, and I go to my friend, I go, there's no fucking way that how does everyone not get arrested here? How do the police let this happen? I had this exact same reaction that everyone who you talk to in the elevator at Hope, who's just a regular guest at that hotel, has. Like, why there's a bunch of hackers here? Why aren't the police here? Why don't the police arrest all these hackers? Like, that was my reaction at age 20 in Y2K. And I went and I had an absolute blast. We borrowed my friend's dad's conversion van. Oh, I was thinking of starting a podcast since DEF CON is canceled this year. And I was going to call it on the way to DEF CON. And it was going to be all just people coming on and telling stories about weird ways they've gotten to DEF CON. But my Hope one was similar. As we borrowed a friend's dad's conversion van, took all the seats out except the shotgun and the driver, put futons in the back, and we loaded up a cooler full of food because we didn't have money to stop for food, and we took off, and that was it. And like, I had $93 and we squatted in an NYU dorm that we broke into because it was summer, so no one was there. And that Sunday was actually the start of orientation week. And so like, we get woken up at like 7 a.m. on a Sunday after like being up all night at Hope by these kids whose room this is for the week. Like, oh, there must be a mix-up. We'll go downstairs and tell them someone's already in here. We're like, no, we'll take care of it. We'll take care. You wait here. We'll go. Hey, just 1 minute. And we threw all of our stuff down the fire escape to avoid getting caught. And it was pouring outside. And I'm still missing a pair of pants from that.
Oh.
Yeah. And so that's like, so you want to talk about like, oh, it costs the same to go to a con. I don't know, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that people are going to be getting more inventive as time wears on, and as things become more accessible to people. Like, I'm interested to see kind of how Hubs kind of plays out. Mozilla has Hubs, which is kind of like that LPR, but it runs on a web browser.
Will change the face of technology on the planet, for sure. I mean, we will get some amazing stuff coming out of this horrible time for absolute certainty.
Going forward, this is going to be able to reach more people. And, when cons can start actually meeting in person and having that all happen again, you're probably going to see even more people attending because now they've had the access to at least taste part of it as it's been virtual.
Perhaps.
Yeah, as the infrastructure kind of builds out, I think you'll see more and more of that.
But you also have, people again like Bunny. Bunny doesn't work in information security.
Yeah.
Bunny is works
a pretty normal human person.
Yeah. She's just works in the service industry,
unlike the rest of us,
and likes board games and nerd shit. And yeah. So she's like, certainly their company isn't paying for her to go to cons, and also I
lose money to go because I can't work.
and you wouldn't go to most of these cons anyway. But now if they're virtualized, you can throw them on in the background and maybe learn something. Like you're opening the door to these cons for people who don't even work in the industry, who would never go, who perhaps didn't know this stuff even existed. You know?
Yeah, like I mean, when I tell people, like during Hope years, coming up, like that I'm gonna go to New York City for a HackerCon, everybody's like, "That's a thing?" Like nobody seems to know that those exist, and I'm just like, "Yeah, they exist. They're very awesome." I mean, like you don't have to be a hacker to go. Like it's a learning experience, is really what it is, and you make great friends. You'll have great experiences.
Well, and I think a hacker is a mindset, right? It's
Yeah.
more of like, trying to find creative ways to solve problems,
Yeah, it's literally a learning experience. That's what hacking is taking a thing and learning about it. And by learning about it, usually you break it into pieces and put it back together.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Possibly.
You hope to put it back together.
Yeah. So speaking of, learning and creating and all that jazz, what have you guys been up to during COVID? Have you been doing anything fun as far as like creating new projects, learning new stuff, or, finding creative ways to entertain yourselves or new ways to entertain yourselves? What do you guys got going on?
Is this my cue to talk about Werewolf now?
Yeah. Tell us about Werewolf.
Go for it.
So the couple days ahead, as we were all anticipating, we're all going to go under lockdown. I belong to a bunch of board game meetups and board game all the time. We wanted to all, still be able to hang out and board game together. So we're like, hey, let's join the site. It's called BoardGameArena.com. It's free for the most part. You don't really have to pay to get the enjoyment out of it.
Whoa,
and we're like,
I've
let's all
never
join
even
this.
heard of that. I need
Yeah,
to check that out.
BoardGameArena.com.
Oh my
it's
gosh.
free. The only thing that premium gets you is you can select your colors. Like if you wanna be specific colors during games, you can kind of get that. A few games a premium member has to open the table, but once the table's open, anybody can join. Wow. And these tables are always open, so it's pretty easy to always.
Do they have Catan?
They do not have Catan. They do have Carcassonne, another little starter board game. They have a lot of games on there. They range. Most of them are the European kind of style games, but they range from, basic family fun filler games to intent and like deep games and stuff. But there's tons. I think there's like 300 some games on the site, and they're always adding. I joined the alpha actually just recently, and there's about 20 games in the alpha, so they're constantly moving new games in.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I need that.
It's constantly busy at all times because everybody across the world, and apparently this site's been running for like 5 or 6 years, and just it's now taken off. Like the first 2 weeks that I was on the site, it was so hard to get. Once you got logged in, you were pretty okay, but the site was dropping nonstop, and every single day they're like, we got to shut down, we got to do server maintenance, like because everybody was just piling on because everybody's going under lockdown.
I wonder how many sites are like that because of COVID, like where it's just like all of a sudden there's huge influx because like people are bored.
Yeah, they didn't expect it, but I mean they're doing good now. But yeah, so anyways, bunch of board game friends were like, hey, let's join this website. We made like a Discord server so we can get everybody kind of together, sent the invites out, add each other on the thing. Let's play games. I was like, so cool. Got on there. I haven't played a game with a single one of my friends because they're never on there. But I stuck on there. Started poking around playing games because they're all fun. And then I noticed they had Werewolf. It's the Miller's Hollow one, which is a version I wasn't familiar with. But most people know Werewolf, typical mafia style, good guys versus bad guys. You vote people off in the day to kill them if you're hoping to get a werewolf, and a werewolf at night you eat. It's actually super fun. There's no visual and no talking. They do have for premium, you could start a video chat, but no one uses it because a lot of people aren't premium, and it's kind of weird too. So yeah, it's just all text based. They do have on next to each little house. You're actually in a village. It's max 12 players in a village. Next to each house, there's like a little thumbs up and thumbs down. So it works out for people. I've played games where no one else spoke English. That was interesting. You essentially can just thumbs up and thumbs down people. So you can alert to the rest of the place that, hey, I think this person's acting a little suspect without actually having to communicate and actually talk to them. But
just all through emojis, huh?
Yeah, you can if you want. Well, like when you press like the thumbs down, it'll say something like, "I think so and so has some fur hiding under their clothes."
Okay.
It'll pop up like there's like 3 different auto responses for them, but it passes along and it works out for if you end up in a game where no one speaks English with you or speaks the same language. But yeah, you can always text. So a lot of it's you just sit there and type it away. It works really well. I joined thinking this is going to be a complete shit show. And immediately upon joining, it was actually nice. Everybody's very friendly, and they were like immediately like, "Oh, Bunny," because it says like this player has never played before. It lets you know on your first game. Everybody's like, "Oh my God, Bunny, do you know how to play?" Like you're aware. And I'm like, I've played so much Werewolf outside this. I'm fine. I just don't know how to do this without talking to you. Yeah, I played one game, and I was like, actually, that worked out really well. And so I've been playing nonstop Werewolf all the time I've met tons of friends now. And it's really interesting because the best thing I like about it is where most people who aren't super familiar with the game isn't about talking and spying that person who just looks guilty in the face. That's actually not it. There's always information in these games, even when it seems like there's not. And voting is the biggest source of information in the game. And this because all of that talking face to face, and you're not paying attention to people. All you see are votes now. You can just clearly pay attention to the votes, and so much information comes out there, and it's really easier, I think, to play online when I'm not talking than it is in person because you get distracted by all the visuals that are happening. And so,
Cool, awesome.
I was a big board game fan up until, I still am, but I haven't been able to play many board games. And there's a tabletop simulator on Steam, as well as another real popular one called Tabletopia, where tons of board game manufacturers are importing their board games into these simulators that you can then play with friends. And so that's pretty cool because effectively it's just a physics engine, and then you just import your cards and dice and crap into this. That's a really good one as well.
Yeah, board games and Jack in the Box, they have made bank.
Jackbox. Oh, but Jackbox is so freaking expensive. Jackbox, like their sales are like they're only $30, and you're like,
they at the very start, I opted not to buy in because all my friends have copies. But at the very start of lockdown, they were dropping them, and people were able to buy them for like $10 a piece. And so a lot of
people dropped all the crappy ones, is what happened.
No, a lot of my friends they were just constantly paying attention. So some of the people got the newer ones for fairly cheap. If you got them generally through Jackbox, like Steam never really dropped them very much.
I don't like the newer ones. That's my problem.
Really, the newest one is the best. It has Murder Party 2, and Murder Party 2 is hilarious. It also has the one social deduction game that they have, which is the Alien game, Push the Button.
I like the bidding war, the bidding war where you bid on the art game.
I'm so bad at that one.
Oh, I wreck that game. I'm so good at it. Everyone hates that game, and I'm the only one who ever wants to play it.
I'm just bad at it. I don't hate it. I'm just bad at that one.
I love it. You just got to pay attention. That's all it is.
Yeah. Okay. No, well, like they do. Like I remember we played one not that long ago, and everybody had very money-oriented ones. So every single drawing was about money, and I'm like, they all look like what I'm looking for.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, I'll just bid on everything.
Yeah.
I ended up buying like negative pretty much amounts. Like it was horrible.
Yeah.
I played poker virtually, and we did it through Poker Stars, and then had like a Zoom so we could like shit talk and stuff.
Yeah.
And that was fun, and it was weird. One of my buddies was in Seattle, and apparently in Seattle you're not allowed to use Poker Stars. So he VPN through Chicago so that he can do Poker Stars to play poker with no money. Like we did the money through Venmo, so it's like So anyway, it was a little ridiculous, but we made it work. But I got some friends that always want to play Catan, like where we both have boards.
Check out it's a site called Catan.
Like, I don't want to do that.
No, there's Catan VR now. Which is just, if you feel like wearing a VR mask for 6
we're missing the
hours.
big point. Everybody realizes Niantic is dropping their next game, right? And that's Catan.
Who are you going to play with?
I don't know. I'm not. I actually stopped playing. I stopped playing Pokemon Go, so I'm not going to
playing Catan.
But yeah, they're dropping it. It's the next game. The Harry Potter one's been out for a while now, and it's going well. And so now they're going to drop it. And I don't understand because like my friend said, I was like, great, so I can walk around and offer wood for sheep. You're like, here, I have some wood for you. Can I have your sheep? I mean, you just like at Pokemon, like you can run into strangers and you're not saying really weird things to them, except for like, hey, you want to do this raid? Instead, I'm just gonna meet people in the street and be like, can I have your sheep?
Like Catan is already a very boring game.
A little bit. It's not the most boring.
I enjoy it, but it does go too long for the experience.
Like I certainly don't want to go walk around outside and just trying to find somebody to give me some sheep. I'm like, holy fuck, I don't.
But Niantic is doing it. It's supposed to be released, I think, here like in the next month.
Yeah, literally all of that sounds like a terrible idea.
It sounds like the worst time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, definitely that, but also like, yeah, Catan isn't the most exciting or interesting in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the worst game.
Catan is the modern Monopoly.
See, I like
okay.
I like Risk a lot, but like nobody likes to, because that one is like an all-night game. You know, you have to play for a long time. But Catan, I mean, you can get it done in an hour.
No.
Sometimes.
Not if you're playing with 7 people and 3 of them have never played before.
Yeah, that's true. But
if you get like a full game, it takes a long time.
If you're doing competitive Catan, it's one-on-one pros. You can get a 40-minute game.
I always like to suggest Carcassonne for the starter games instead of getting people on Catan.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think
that one's really good.
Carcassonne it's about the same. I feel like the same style, like the same concept. It's easy to get and kind of go with, but then once you learn it, there's fun strategies, and the farmers can really up the game once you understand farmers. Yeah. But the game doesn't take hours, and so.
No, that used to be me and my wife would play that over lunch.
Dropping the wife. Like, I got a wife.
Sorry, ladies, Beaches is taken.
Yeah, wow. We're just I was just trying to be friendly with the board games.
Well, so
sorry, I got a wife.
Well, so the point that I was going to make is that like we used to live in a town that was like the middle of nowhere, 2 square miles. And so we had a bunch of board games and stuff, but like most board games aren't 2-player. So you're like, all right, do you want to play chess, war, or Carcassonne?
Or they say they're 2-player, and it's like it really
plays bad at 2-player.
Yeah, it's like you can technically do this, but it's terrible. Yeah. So Carcassonne's great.
That's my favorite are solitaire games. The games that
Beaches,
have solitaire rules.
Go get Onitama for a good 2-player game. It's only 2-player. It's a fun take on chess. Looks really cute. Get a little mad and you're these little people. It's a fun take on chess. And it works really good. Onitama. Onitama.
Let's talk favorite solitaire games. Board games that have a 1-player option.
So Magic Maze is this crazy game. I don't know if you all know about this game. I bought it ages ago after getting to play it at a board game conference. They actually just dropped it on alpha on Board Game Arena, so you can play it solo. It's actually easier in solo because you don't have to rely on other people, but it's a great game in general. It plays, I think you can do like 10 people max or something. It's very panicky. What do we call it? It's like panic mode or stress mode on panic. Like you just kind of lose your mind because the game's played in silence. I should note that. There's no talking.
Fun. That sounds very fun.
But you have a
Magic
timed.
Maze?
It's a timed game, and you as a group. It's all co-op. As a group, you have to essentially you're in a mall. It's a funny theme. You're in a mall trying to steal items and then exit. So in the first round, you as a team have to take 4 meeples, get them to the item spots, and then round 2 starts, and you have to get to the exit spots. You're timed on this, and no one can talk. And each of you has a specific movement, so you can obviously move up, down, left, or right. Someone can use a search function, someone can use portals, and someone can use escalators. On a smaller games, you have multiple movements, so I could maybe be the only person that can move left.
I think you have a specific like a mall version because I'm seeing like Magic Maze on Mars. I'm seeing Magic Maze and it has like fantasy characters.
The original like just Magic Maze itself is the theme is a mall, and you're grabbing items and running.
Yes. Okay. It's hard to tell whether that's an escalator. I'm looking at the box art. Got it.
It's a white box. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, it's actually a really fun game. Can be played solo. However, I do say it's easy mode on solo because you control everything. So it's just you fighting against the timer, which is still very short. But it is a solo game that is fun to play. And if you have it, it can play. It's at least 10 people, if not more. But yeah,
Wow, that's cool.
It's super panic, but it is a good game. And I've been alpha testing, and I'm using the longest time frame because the moves are still weird since it's on a computer. But in the regular time frame, I'm still panicked playing it solo. So.
What's the game? I'm thinking about the one with it's like a wooden triangle and it's got like golf tees and it has like one that's missing.
You're looking at the one. Yeah, you're an ignoramus. You're an ignoramus if you don't do very well.
Oh man,
that's at all Cracker Barrels. It's at Cracker Barrels.
Yeah,
and it's really easy. As a kid, as a very young kid, you just have to leave. There's just the one specific hole. You just leave that one empty, and it's like a Rubik's cube. Once you do it one time, you're like, oh.
I can't do that, and I can't do a Rubik's cube. I can't. I can't.
Yeah, it's a game that once you figure it out,
then you got it. Then it's
not really fun anymore.
Tic-tac-toe if you can put the X in the right spot.
All right, I found Magic Maze for $15.
There you go. Yeah, it should be fairly cheap. I bought it
Awesome.
2 years ago, like when it first came out. I played it like once, and it was a late night at a conference. And we arranged. We had like 4 of us playing to like 10 of us or whatever. We arranged. We played it for like 5 hours straight, and then I was like, "Yep, I'm buying this tomorrow morning."
Cool. Yeah, I love board game cons. That's what I like. Gen Con's canceled this year.
Yeah, my board game conference got canceled this year, and they just announced it. They were trying to hope they can push it, and it didn't work.
You go to Gen Con to play board games. Like you're not like they tried to virtualize it, and they're doing it, but like.
I know. I mean, so for the board games, like I'm interested to see how it turns out. Have you done True Dungeon?
Yeah.
The virtual True Dungeon seems interesting.
Not as fun.
I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with you, but it does seem interesting, and it seems like it could be fun.
I could get way more fun virtual True Dungeons. Like I can just go to the App Store and buy them on my Quest. Like, come on.
Okay,
just don't have your conference. Like we all understand why you're not having it. Save your money. Do a great one next year or something.
I don't think I'd want to try. There was talk for the board game conference I do. It's a local one. There's about 3,000-ish people that do it. It's an every year one. There was talk from a lot of people of like, hey, can we try to get the same group of people? A lot of us are all locals, and trying to get it together as a virtual. And I was just like, I mean, I basically have done that my entire lockdown. It's just sit online and play games with people. And often we're over like in Discord on voice chat or whatever together talking anyway. So it's
you don't want more of that.
Yeah, it's just the same thing I've been doing.
And that's a big part of it is like, oh, these virtual conferences. Well, everything we're doing is all of our interaction with human beings is virtual right now. We don't get. We used to get excited about going to a conference. We're not excited about going to virtual conferences. It feels like work. It literally feels like work. I've signed up for 2 that I never even logged in for because I was like, I just have no interest in this shit. I got my other stuff I'm doing. Man, I've been doing so many home improvement projects. I've been repairing all of the broken stuff that's been piling up here forever that I didn't want to sit and waste a day of just sitting and fixing this thing. But you know what I did to motivate myself to start doing these projects is I started streaming it on Twitch. So when I'm like, all right, cool, I have these 2 broken guitars I need to repair. Let me fire up Twitch and I'm going to repair them on stream. And that's cool because you get to meet new people and make new friends. I'm at least verbally discussing things with people. I'm still educating people like I like to. I'm still doing things I like doing. And now I also don't feel like I'm wasting my time doing them because Twitch. So that's a new thing I'm doing in COVID to stay sane. You know, I used to go speak at least monthly somewhere. And that kind of lets me still get that scratch that itch while not leaving the house.
The Twitch itch.
It's not as great, and Twitch has its own problems and shit, but it's been fun, and I'm surprised at the response that I've gotten off of it.
That's awesome.
For sure, yeah.
I've been doing the same thing. I've been trying to do some house projects, and we just got chickens too. So
there is an amazing Twitch chicken stream.
I should check that out. I'm not even on Twitch. I was
just looking at it.
I don't want to get another thing.
So actually, there's a system called Our Chicken Life is, by the way, it's twitch.com/Our Chicken Life, and it's just chickens, and you get to spend 50 bits and give them some snacks. It's great. It's the most zen shit.
I always get tagged chicken posts now, and so somebody had one of like a chicken with there was a race car and it had chicken feet on the back, and it was a race car and like a track, and like all these chickens were chasing it, and then there's like an announcer announcing the winners of the chickens and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, I'm doing that. So I went and got one of these race cars for my chickens. And sorry,
and now you're down a bunch of chickens.
The chat distracted me, but
sorry.
So I got I put a bunch of feed.
There's chat.
Do you not put a bunch of
no?
I put a bunch of feed in the back of this car. I'm like, all right, the chickens are gonna love this, and they were terrified of the race car. So now the chickens are just. I use it to herd them back into the coop if they're out and about and I can't get them back in.
That's pretty hilarious.
So now I do that.
That's great.
Yeah,
I grew up. We used to breed rabbits, so I had rabbits and ducks growing up.
Nice. Ducks is the next thing I want, but I gotta get some
ducks
water for them.
Ducks are super easy.
They're mean and rapey.
Well,
my ducks were perfectly fine. I had many ducks
when you
who were
weren't
the
looking,
nicest, cuddliest.
you don't know what they were doing.
They
were
that's
sleeping.
how they reproduce.
If they're not sleeping, they're loud as hell. Like
maybe it's because you domesticated them, but like wild ducks, yeah, like they're actually one of the rapiest animals out there besides dolphins.
I don't know what it is.
No, that's true.
Too many of the podcasts that I come on end up involving duck rape, and I don't understand it.
It's because there was like a Cracked article on it once.
No. I know what it is. This is oh god. Do you guys remember a YouTube guy named Z Frank? He got known for Sad Cat Diaries. That was the big thing he went viral for, and he also did Sad Dog Diary. They're adorable. You should watch them.
Yeah, they're on TikTok now.
He does a bunch of other videos. He has a very Morgan Freeman voice, so they're really nice and fun to listen to.
Sure, cool.
But he does the truth about, and he picks random animals. So there's been like the truth about ducks. There's like the truth about, I think he did chinchillas once, a bunch of random animals, and he did ducks. And he went through this whole spiel, and he explained how they're extremely rapey. As in, this video teaches you that over the years, a female duck's vagina has evolved to help ward off the rape.
This is a fallacy. Ducks being rapey does not inherently mean all other animals are not rapey.
No, I said they were the most rapey along with dolphins.
Right, and so I'm saying, how do you judge most rapey? Do you know how many animals there are? Like, how do you even determine consent within the animal?
Because the duck's vagina wards off the penis because it's so rapey.
Maybe the duck is just so into it that they created that multi-vagina to extend the period of time.
A female's duck is now, like their vagina is a corkscrew shape, and it has evolved to be an opposite corkscrew shape. So hopefully the male duck's penis won't make it in there. This is the way I look at it. We as humans are super rapey as well, and our vaginas have actually not even evolved to stop that, but a duck's has. So that's what I took it on.
I think we as like super rapey humans, like our rapiness is psychological convincing.
I'm just saying if like an animal's body has evolved to have a vagina that hopefully can stop the rape.
How do you know that vagina wasn't the first one?
I mean, I was told they were changed. Like, if it changed, wouldn't that mean there was a prior one?
Liberal conspiracy.
I mean, I'm with Bunny on this one. The evidence suggests. I mean, I think she's got a logical argument here that
the only reason why dolphins takes number one spot is because they will rape things out of their species. Ducks keep it to ducks.
How do you know that?
There's been lots of articles.
No, I mean, how do you know ducks keep it to ducks? I'm just saying you just don't have a large enough data set.
Because there hasn't been information coming out saying that ducks. Granted, they did. Right, it has been affirmed that ducks.
That's my point. Is you're relying on whatever comes across your Reddit feed to determine like that.
No, this
what
is
creates
before
your
Reddit.
data set. Your MySpace feed.
I'm just saying there haven't been reports of ducks raping things outside ducks, but there have been reports of dolphins raping outside dolphins. So that puts dolphins in my mind ahead. But ducks have raped dead ducks. That has been reported.
What else have dolphins raped?
Just other animals in the water.
Like
so dolphins dolphins self-stimulate. I guess masturbate might be the word. And so they inherently, by way of that, just kind of rub themselves against whatever they come across, which can be other animals. And so, yeah.
So what's the glory hole of the ocean? Like what's their favorite thing?
Is this the point of the podcast where
probably the things that lay still, like on
Kyle
the bottom,
asks, "What's the glory hill of the X?"
Yes. Yep. What's the glory hole of the ocean?
I would say things that probably lie in the bottom of the ocean that don't really move, so it's easily accessed.
But getting to the bottom of the ocean is very difficult for most creatures.
Well, it depends on which part of the ocean it was.
If it's not like a super deep part of the ocean,
I mean like
dolphins will still be there.
In real life, glory holes are in places where everyone goes. They're in airports and truck stops. You know, they're in very heavily.
Maybe the glory hole is the dolphin itself.
No, because if I don't want to experience a glory hole, that's very easy for me to do. Whereas if a dolphin wants you to experience it, it's hard to avoid them.
Dolphins have there'll be like 400 dolphins in an orgy. Like they get after it. They party hard.
And then they're so sweet.
I wouldn't want 4 people in my orgy.
Well, I don't know.
It's not really an orgy at 4 people.
I don't know that all dolphins do either.
I feel like less.
Oh, that's all right. Good. That's a solid point.
I just want to make the point that I think if it's less than 4 people, it's by definition not an orgy.
I think it needs to be actually more than 4. Like you can have up to threesome, but I think foursome. I don't think that's the line of an orgy. I think it still needs more.
I think
this is all.
At 4, it could just be a pair, 2 pairs, essentially half the time.
This is what we could do is
we've gotten very off topic.
No, you just go look at the Pornhub
Welcome
category.
to Radio Statler,
where we come onto your podcast and make it just like our podcast.
Oh, to be fair, like Kyle started this.
Yeah, I did. You guys, you wrote me in. You guys.
No, we didn't. You know, you edit that out because you started that.
Well, I know, but I'm just saying, like, you guys rubbed off on me like a dolphin.
Oh God.
Oh.
Will rub off on you.
All right, that's a good way to end the podcast, I think.
Oh, jeez.
What's your guys' final thoughts? You guys got any words of hope?
Wish us luck.
Okay, we're gonna need it.
Yeah, hope is 9 days. 9 days. Like, you want to talk about like virtual conferences, like going over the top and being like, all right, we don't need this. 9 days.
9 days, and it happened very quickly. This wasn't a thing they were planning for months.
9 days, and I still don't know what platform we're streaming on.
Yeah, this was a last-minute choice for them, and so it's becoming a last-minute thing for everybody.
How many hours of radio is that? I can't even do 9 times 24. Jeez, that's a lot.
I did the math. So they had us. It's in my sent inbox. Let me see.
Well,
they asked us how many hours, how much time frame we would need.
So for the workshops, they asked you like, how much time do you need for your workshop? And I was like, at most 216 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. We had to submit 9 days is how long our workshop is. The upside is that we control Radio Statler and there's no requirements put on it, and so we can have dead air. I mean, you don't have to stream for 216 hours. We can stream for.
Are you gonna try to?
Yeah.
I think the goal is to do it, and if
I am a big fan of.
It's going to be late night hours that might go dead, but I think
the problem is just having someone who can man the station for 216 hours. That's the problem. I'm a big fan of like the 3 a.m. open mic. Like, if you want to come in and just scream Baba Booey for 2 hours, like, come on in.
And we get that, and it happens.
And that's what Radio Statler is during.
And it's fine because we didn't have anything else going on.
Yeah.
The late night shows are some of my favorites, hands down, because that's when you get like just the weirdest shit.
Yeah.
Come on in. And it's
like
also when you're
after 26 o'clock, and then you have like drunk board game nights, and then like in between like 5 a.m. and 7, it's either dead silent or you're just kind of like, what?
And it's because that's when the rest of the world is waking up too. So that's when you get a lot of your listeners outside of the country. Mm-hmm. And so you have listeners,
especially our nighttime hours is daytime for a lot of other people, and so it's been quite popular.
Sweet. Well, I'm excited to join if you guys will still have me.
Yeah.
All
Yeah,
right.
Well, after that dolphin comment, I feel like
That's more of a like 3 a.m. kind of conversation.
you've already put yourself
Yeah.
into this now.
There's
Yeah,
there's this this thing that that we did one time. We called it "Is It Space Junk?" and it's a fun game where you get drunk and you listen to electronic music, and when a new song comes on, you close your eyes and you try to picture where you are, and if you're in space and there's a bunch of junk flying around, it's space junk, and if it's not that, then it's not space junk. So that's a fun game to play when you're drunk and you're just goofing off. And
We could actually play Sounds of Space though too,
That's true.
and that sounds actually very calming while drunk even.
I will also agree with that.
Except
I like
for
that
Saturn.
idea.
wait,
The sounds of Saturn are literally like the sounds of hell. We will not put that.
Oh, we're 100% going to put that.
No.
Oh, I'm doing it. It's too
It's
late.
so
You've set the
seriously,
ball in motion.
I listened to it. There were sounds of each planet, and Saturn was literally hell. It's awful. The rest of them are very nice and calming and peaceful, and I loved them. Very zen.
all right. Well, we'll debate it on Radio Statler.
I submit that Saturn is space junk. So
Well, its rings
at
are
me.
its rings are definitely space junk.
yeah,
I mean,
what's up?
if you
And the
want
rest
to get
of it is-
really technical,
All the
we're
stuff-
all space junk.
We're space
The rest
junk.
of it is
all
gas,
space
which
junk.
takes up like
Space
is like. Yeah. What's up? Fight me, bro.
But I think about space junk as like satellites and shit like that, like shit that we put up.
No, I'll fight Saturn on air. You get Saturn on air, and we'll settle this.
All right.
My bet's on Saturn.
All right. Bring it on, Saturn. You have a-
Saturn has shitty arguments. Saturn's arguments are like sounds like fucking dialing up to AOL.
Oh man, I miss the dial-up days.
Do you?
No.
That's a weird sentence.
I just miss that sound. Like I get such a nostalgia from that sound. I
It's
used
such
to
a-
play.
You are aware that you don't have to use dial-up to hear the sound.
I was gonna say set your phone ringtone to it, but nobody calls people anymore.
Okay,
either.
I guess I miss the sound. I don't miss the slowness and the how crappy it was.
My
But
first modem was
you gotta set that for like
3600
every
baud.
time you get a text, that's
Yeah.
what goes off.
yeah,
So if you're having a conversation, it's just a cavalcade of computers dialing up.
fax machines. All right. Well, guys, this has been a lot of fun, and I'm excited to continue this journey. And this has been the record, for the record, of how many people have been on the CypherCon podcast at one time. So next time we get together, let's beat it. All right.
We can bring the numbers.
Let's
Yeah.
bring the numbers. Let's get real weird. Okay.
You should do that like once a quarter, do an episode where you invite the entire internet to join your podcast and you just put it on Twitter.
Let me tell you, that's not a bad idea. Johnny, System Administrivia, they do that also, where they do a shit show.
They do it once a year. The
Once a
shit
year,
show,
they're
the
like,
annual
all right,
shit show.
we're just
I forgot
gonna-
about that.
I've been like twice, and that's those. So
Their problem is
every
they have a
time,
big barrier to
surprisingly-
entry. It's because you have to like get Mumble all set up with their certificate and shit. So like nobody joins who's just screwing around. Like anyone who joins like has a purpose and intent, and so that kind of ruins it. I feel like.
it
Whereas if you
does.
just post like your Hangouts link and go,
Hi, come. Though Hangouts is still prohibitive because it's like 10. It used to be like a 10-person cap.
oh yeah,
You can have 10 people, and then you can go fuck yourself. Like,
Yeah,
number 11, get out of here.
Does not go to 11.
I got it. Look, I got a 200 meg pipe here. I can push audio pretty hard.
All right, guys.
Antarctica, you're on the air. Antarctica, you're on the air.
Yeah, Antarctica. Let's get
do
you
it.
guys in this year.
Let's do it.
Let's get you guys.
If you
Anyone
got
out there?
hookups- If you got
No.
hookups.
No
yeah.
people. Bring them.
Because
I'm
that
gonna-
was the thing is everyone says they know somebody like, oh, I got my cousin's brother works in a space station in Antarctica. What?
I'm still surprised that there's not just one city. Like, there's not
Well,
just
there's
one
no
research.
cities.
There are no cities.
There's 0 cities, but there's more than one place.
We got one. Russia's got one. China's got one.
Oh yeah, I
Probably
suppose.
India. It's
Because we
and it's
can't
like
work together.
Well, they all work together. Just they're on different places and they share data and crap. Like it's like space. Like there's a Russian space station, but we share.
Yeah.
Scientists are generally good at sharing. There's not a lot of like weird patriotism in that realm.
Hopefully, yeah. Generally.
But let's get Antarctica to listen to Radio Statler Live. That's all we need.
All right, guys.
And some kind of screenshot as evidence. If you know somebody working in Antarctica in a couple weeks who has access to streaming audio on the internet, please tweet at Radio Statler.
And honestly, I will tell you, we will down mix. We will do whatever it takes.
We will be
to
very
make
accommodating.
This stream small enough. We will move heaven and earth.
Give you a massage.
And Saturn.
We'll massage your feet. We'll give you virtual foot massage.
It's a little difficult to do a virtual foot massage without getting into territory that's very, very similar to teledildonics. But technically it is possible. I 100% believe in our ability to do virtual foot massages.
The big wink.
If that is needed.
And this one. I'll give you this one.
All right. Let's everyone give us your best wink, and then we're done. This is it.
Best wink.
All right, are we gonna do it like are we gonna count down to this?
On 3, yeah. We'll do 3, 2, 1. We'll do 3, 2, 1. Okay, 3, 2, 1. All right, signing off. Thanks, guys. It's been fun.
Thank you.
Give you the guns.